The Transformers will return after these messages.
Greetings, YouTube. It is Data Links Magnus back at you again, and today we have an extra special treat. So, those of you that have been watching my channel for a while, you know that I've done a lot of Transformers stop motions, but I have never done a Transformers review. But recently I picked up some third-party Transformers, and I got this one. This is Maketoys Downbeat, basically jazz, and it was so, I've gotten some really nice Transformers third party before, but this one, I like it so much that I figured I'm doing a bunch of reviews of other stuff anyway. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and review this one too. This is not a new figure. This has been out for a couple of years, but it has been reissued recently, so if you want one, you could actually go buy one today. All right, let's have a look at this guy. So before we take a look at the figure, take a quick look at the box. It's a standard box. It's nice. It's got some glossy stuff on it. Got a picture of Downbeat here. Maketoys Downbeat. Top is there. You get a couple extra head sculpts or face sculpts. Got some pictures of him, some of his accessories, artwork, the usual. All right, let's have a look at Jazz. Okay, so FYI, I am going to refer to him as Jazz throughout the course of this review because to me, he is Jazz. I know that they have their name, and then you got this Agent Meister plastered over him. And once we look at the comparisons, we will see that the Meister moniker is not something Maketoys made up. That kind of came from original Jazz. So, speaking of that, let's look at some comparisons in car mode. All right, so here we have some vehicle comparisons. This here is the I want to say Generation Select Ricochet. This is the, I want to say it's the G2 version of Jazz, and in some continuities he's a separate character. If I was to ever use him, he'd be a separate character. Here we have a G1 reissue of Jazz. This is original Generation 1. So I'll tell you a quick story about my childhood. When I was a kid, I got Jazz for Christmas one year, and I was super excited. This is the late 80s, and my family didn't have that much money to be thrown around, but somehow Santa Claus found it in his budget to get me a Jazz, and I couldn't transform him. Didn't know how, couldn't figure it out. So my dad tried, and was it my dad? It was either my dad or my brother, but somebody tried and they broke him in half. So my Jazz was broke on Christmas morning. You can imagine the tragic sadness that was felt that day, because I never got a replacement. Back in those days, it wasn't like, oh, it's broke, okay, we'll get you another one. It was like, oh, it's broke, sorry about your luck. Then on this side, we have the generations. It's either Power of the Primes or Titans Return or Combiner Wars. It's one of them version of Jazz. And these are the same mold. This is not a bad mold. This is not a bad figure. In fact, if you've watched my stop motions, you've seen this guy in multiple stop motions. But it was time for an upgrade. So, let's have a look at the bot mode. Actually, before we take a look at bot mode, let's take a look at the car mode up close. Obviously, it's a bigger, compared to your G1 or your recent Power of the Primes. Actually, it's close to size, but still bigger. And actually, if you want to, or actually I do want to, let me show you him with some Masterpiece carbides. All right, so there we have Jazz with Masterpiece Sideswipe. And then this is Masterpiece Scale, but it is not Takara. This is, I want to say it's Bad Cube Sunstreaker, but Masterpiece Scaled, Masterpiece Size. So that was what I was looking for Jazz. I didn't want him to be huge. I just wanted him to be comparable to a Masterpiece Carbot, like same size as Prowl or these two guys, Sunstreaker and Sideswipe, or Wheeljack. You know, I wanted him to be around that size. One more quick size comparison. Here he is with Lockdown. Now, this is not obviously a Masterpiece version of Lockdown, but this particular figure for Lockdown is a good size. He's close. He's very close to Masterpiece size in car mode, so he works. All right, now we will take a look at the figure. Okay, through the magic of editing, we will transform him into his robot mode because I'm gonna tell you right now, full disclosure, I am not good at transforming Masterpiece level Transformers. It takes me a good 15-20 minutes to get through the transformation, and that's if I'm lucky. So we're not about to stand around for all that. So let's see him in bot mode. Okay, so after several minutes of transforming, we have Jazz transformed into his bot mode, and he is very cool looking. Like, if you are a G1 fan, or if you're just a Transformers fan in general, there's no way you can't like, or at least appreciate, this guy in this release. He's great. I mean, his bot mode is spot on to the G1 look. Cleans up nice in the back. The kibble is all, supposed to be there. Now, he is a little bit hollow if you look at him from the side, but, he looks great. Almost perfect. I am very, very pleased with this. Like, so happy I got this guy. So happy. Take a couple of close-up looks at him. He does not have light piping, but he has some reflective material on the glasses or the goggles, so it almost replicates light piping. And then you don't have the kind of weird head in the back, so you don't have to worry about that, which is the sacrifice for light piping. He does have, we'll do some of his articulation while I got him up close here. His hands do close, open and close at the knuckles. You got a single jointed well, actually it's double jointed, but it's not really functional for his elbow. Shoulders can come out way far, and obviously you can go all the way around. Well, mostly all the way around. You do get an ab crunch. His head twists around. He can look up decently. He can look down good, and then when you get that ab crunch with it, it's really nice. You can twist at the waist. His legs are on ratchets, and he can go out real far to the side for splits. He is double jointed at the knee, but it's not going to go much farther than that. And you do have great tilt. Great. So you can get him in some very dynamic poses. With that ab crunch and that ankle tilt, you know, he can look very athletic. And there's a little bit of a twist here at the thigh too. Forgot to mention that. And his wrists obviously twist. All right, so let's look at him in comparison to some other bots. All right, so here we have Jazz with the recent generations, either, you know, Combiner Wars, Titan's Return, or Power to Primes, whichever one it was. Jazz release, and your G1 Jazz. So one of the things that us G1 people, us guys, we grew up with G1, like when we were kids, that's when G1 was out. We have a very tainted and or sugar-coated memory of how great G1 was. G1 was great because it was the first toys, the first cartoon, whatever the case, but these G1 toys are not actually very good, to be perfectly honest. Like, this dude's legs don't even come apart. They can't move. He's loose as all get out. I mean, and honestly, this is one of the better ones. Like, you look at the Ironhide and the Ratchet G1, they're terrible. They're horrible. But we love those things. We love those things. So it is nice to get an actual good representation of these beloved characters. You know, I mean, the G1 will always have a special place, but let's be honest, they weren't that good. All right, so here we have Jazz with some Carbot staples, and these guys are, you know, G1 Masterpiece Carbots. We got Smokescreen, and we have Wheeljack. Okay, and then here we have Jazz with a Generations, this is the Thrilling 30, I think it's called, Springer. We have Masterpiece Prowl, and then we have another Generations Bumblebee. All right, so Jazz comes with a decent amount of accessories, and he actually comes with quite a bit of decals as well, which I was surprised about because he's already got a good amount of stickers on him. But you get this thing of stickers, so I guess you can add stuff or change stuff, but it looks pretty good to me already. I'm not sure I'll use any of these, but so there's that. You also get a bunch of silver accents that you can put different places, I guess to add to his je ne sais quoi. And you have, of course, the tried and true classic speakers that you can hook onto his doors. I can tell you right now, I'll never use these on him, but it's nice that they add them. You get his shoulder launcher. That's nice. That is a classic Jazz accessory. You also get his used one time in the cartoon grappling hook that you can attach to his arm or wrist. You get his classic pistol or gun that has the tabs for hooking into his hands. You can hold it in either hand since it has tabs on both sides. And he also comes with some alternate face plates, but unfortunately, I seem to have misplaced mine. So I'm showing you a picture from the box. So real quick, let's talk about scale. So scale for your Transformers. Scale is a topic of debate amongst Transformers collectors. As far as scale goes for me, for my purposes, and scale oftentimes is dictated by what you're using your Transformers for. If you're just putting them on a shelf and it's a showpiece and you want the biggest ones out there, then yeah, you want masterpiece level combiners. You don't want anything small. Like, the smallest thing on your shelf needs to be these Carbots and maybe a Bumblebee, and everything else needs to be huge. I'm not that guy, and for a couple of reasons. So, number one, I do make stop motion videos with my Transformers. The bigger they are, the harder it is to make sets, to get everybody in film or in frame, and to amass enough Transformers to actually do your stop motion videos, because then price becomes a problem too. On the other hand, I don't want them to be too small like many of the newer sized or scaled mainline characters are. Some of them I can use, but many of them are just too small. And they're sometimes not as well put together as I would like. A lot of times these third-party companies will come out with Transformers that are in between mainline size and in between masterpiece size. And I can fudge or fit mainline and masterpiece into, a universe with those third-party Transformers and get the scale that I want. For instance, this Optimus Prime is my go-to Optimus Prime. He's taller than the Carbots. He's taller than somebody like a Springer. He's taller than say, a third-party Impactor. Who, Impactor's supposed to be a pretty big guy. Impactor is bigger than Jazz, definitely bigger than Bumblebee, but not as big as Optimus Prime. And then on the other hand, even though Prime is big, he's still smaller, I gotta adjust the camera for this guy, than a leader class Ultra Magnus. And this is the old school leader class at this point, because the new Ultra Magnus is smaller than this guy. But this Combiner Wars, or Combiner Wars? Titans Returns, maybe? I don't know. This Ultra Magnus is much taller than Optimus Prime, and that's how I would like him to be. So that works for me. A few more size comparisons here. Here is the Titans Return Blaster, and he's kind of dusty. He's sitting on the shelf for a while. But as you can see, Blaster is huge, but Blaster is supposed to be tall. He's supposed to be a really big bot. I don't know if he's supposed to be this big, like especially compared to Prime. Like Prime should probably be a little bit taller, but when you're trying to mix and match like I do, you're not going to be perfect. And then on the other side here, we have the third-party Mastermind Creations Thunderclash from IDW. And that's another thing that I like to do. I'm a huge fan of the IDW Transformer continuity that started about 10, 12, 15 years ago now, which makes me feel old. But I love that continuity. Love it. I love everything about it. I love the stories. I love the characters. I love where they went with the characters. I love the designs, the art, everything. All right, so here is Tarn Mastermind Creations, and this is actually Fortress Maximus. And you might be thinking, well, wait a minute, Fortress Maximus? How come it's not like Titan class? How come he isn't like, out of frame and I'm only seeing his ankles? Because again, IDW fan here. In the IDW continuity, people like Scorponok, Fort Max were big, tall, huge robots, but they weren't Titan class. They were taller than everybody else, kind of like Overlord maybe, but not so much that they're like the size of a city. This Fortress Maximus is from Perfect Effects, and he actually comes maybe like a head shorter, but there's an add-on kit that you can add to him to make him a little bit taller so that he is the size that he should be in this scale. All right, a few more comparisons and then I'll wrap this up. So here we have the Tyrannotron, which is the IDW version of Megatron that Mastermind Creations made. And then this is Starscream, obviously, but if you're like, what Starscream is that? Well, this is a third-party Seeker mold from a company called iGear. This is these Stunticons are X-Transbots. The Swindle is Warbatron. And then real quick here, so these guys, and this guy's face is being covered up. Sorry about that, sir. But these guys are also Warbatron, and they are Technobots. This would be Scattershot. And he's big, and that's fine, because he's the main part of the combiner. He's supposed to be big. So he's about as big as Ultra Magnus or Fortress Maximus. That's okay. So, Downbeat, excellent release. If you got the means to pick him up, he is a bit expensive. He's about $100, but it's well worth it. He's got die-cast legs. I don't know if I mentioned that. He's got a good amount of accessories. It's a very sturdy, very quality, strong figure. It's a great in-between size. So, it's a great release. I recommend you pick him up if you can. And you can get him right now. He's available right now at most online retailers. All right. Like, comment, subscribe. Later.